In our very first story, the Brong-Ahafo Regional Security Council has imposed curfew on Drobo, Japekrom and other surrounding towns from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. effective today, Thursday, October 18, 2018. This follows Wednesday's renewed clashes which led to gunshots that resulted in the death of some people. 4 people were killed, including the sub-chief. Interior Minister Ambrose Jerry in a statement said the decision was reached in consultation with the Brong-Ahafo Regional Security Council. Here's Brong-Ahafo Regional Minister Designate Evans Opoku Bobie briefing the media after the RECSEC meeting.
Held on 18th October 2018 at 4 p.m. The Regional Security Council met to assess the security situation in some communities in the German South Municipal Assembly and recommended the following to the Interior Minister. Upon the sanctioning or approval of the Interior Minister, a curfew has been imposed on the following communities within immediate effect. And the communities are Drobo, Japekrom, Baby-Aniha, Kwasibu-Krom, Mpoasu, Basa-Krom, Kwadwokesi-Krom, and Katechie-Krom. The Interior Minister recommends that the curfew be imposed on the above communities from 6 o'clock p.m. to 6 o'clock a.m. each day, with effect from today, Thursday, 18th October 2018, until further notice. These measures taken by the Interior Ministry, it is believed that it will help forestall any further hostilities and chaos that have been arisen in these communities. We will be grateful if the decision of the Interior Ministry is adhered to by the both communities, i.e. Drobo and Japekrom.
Joining me on phone right now is Precious Semevo, our correspondent in the area. Good evening to you, Precious. Now, bring us up to speed. Now, we're learning about the fatalities about 24 hours after the incident occurred. Can you bring us up to speed as to exactly how many people we're learning are killed here?
Well, according to the regional minister designate, Evans Opoku Bobie, the information or the briefing he has received from the security indicates that only two people have been confirmed dead. But our sources on the ground are also giving us 4 as the number, which includes the youth chief or the Manchehene of Japekrom. We also know of one man who was hit by the sporadic gunshots at a nearby filling station. We also have heard about another person, including a 1-year-old child. So conflicting reports. According to the police, it's only 2, but on the ground, we know 4.
All right, but what's the situation on the ground right now? Do we have a restoration of calm?
Yes, it's an easy calm, I must emphasize that, because residents, the whole of today, students, traders, store operators, and all, none of them could go about their normal activities. And the situation is a bit tense now when they heard that there is a curfew imposed on Japekrom as well as Drobo and the surrounding towns. They appear not to have any option than to comply with the decision of the security officials. And we also know that there are a lot of our security men on the ground ensuring that maximum restoration of our peace is restored.
All right, now, Precious, what we know is that this incident that we're talking about was a clash between two towns, Drobo and Japekrom. But in the statement that has been released from the Interior Ministry about the curfew, we're talking about several other towns. Why so?
Yes, it's sort of one big, community. Japekrom and the other towns, they are just surrounding towns. And for instance, from Japekrom, during the festival, that is the Munufie festival, they had to go to another town known as Impuasu to perform the spiritual, rites and other things there. And they have to pass through a lot of towns before getting to Impuasu. So on their way from Impuasu, they had passed through the other towns, and they were just about passing through Drobo. That is where the blockade, came from the youth of Drobo, preventing the people from Japekrom from going through their town back to Japekrom. So it's kind of a close-knitted town. That is why you have all these other communities, including Japekrom and then Drobo, the main town, also is going to suffer the curfew.
All right, thank you very much. Correspondent Precious Semova bringing us up to speed with what's happening there in the two towns of Japekrom and Drobo, surrounding communities in the Brong-Ahafo region. Moving on to other stories, and a former director of finance at the National Communications Authority, Dr. Isaac Yawani, has admitted in open court that he gave approval for some $4 million to be paid to a private company on the basis of an assumption that the board had approved the transfer. Dr. Ani is the second witness in the case in which former NCA board chairman Eugene Bafo-Boni, NCA Director General William Tevi, and three others have been charged with causing financial loss to the state in the award of a $4 million contract to private firm Infralox Development Limited. The former director of finance on Tuesday told an Accra High Court he realized 12 months after effecting the payment that the board had not given its approval. Now we would move on to other stories, or rather we're going to take a break at this point. We have more stories coming up after this, including the story about the telecom mobile phone tariffs, pending increase in mobile phone tariffs. Stay tuned, we'll be back in a bit. Now, news of an impending increase in how much it will cost you to make a mobile phone call or browse using your phone has not been very well received by subscribers. The mobile phone operators say the increase in tariffs has become necessary following a review in the VAT law announced by the Finance Minister and the mid-year budget review. Though it is unclear by what percentage the tariffs will go up, Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Chamber of Telecoms, Kenneth Ashigwe, says it will take effect from November 1.
But we are within a very competitive environment. And so the structure of the industry is such that cost is very significant. There's a lot of cost, and the margins are really, really very depressed, And so when a tax is imposed, definitely what then would have to happen is that because it's a tax, and if you look at the practice note that was issued by GRA, it's specific on who the tax is incident on. These levies have become sales taxes, so it's a consumer tax. So as an industry, it's just deciding that principle of saying that there's a tax that has been imposed, government has clearly identified who the incidence is on, so it ought to be passed on. So the industry came together and decided that, yes, we don't just have to talk to the Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Finance, and NCA that we have written to, but most importantly, our consumers as well. We also need to inform them out of the fact that you want to be transparent, you want to be accountable to both government and also to your consumers, and let them prepare for it. So it's the reason why together as an industry we are coming together to be able to inform our consumers about this. When it comes to pricing, pricing because of the competitive nature of the industry. You want, the market and the operators to determine the pricing themselves. So what we are setting off as an industry is the fact it's this 5% tax that is going to be applied. But then very soon the MNOs, the operators themselves, are going to communicate directly to their consumers and tell them, how this is going to be. So what we are sure of is that this 5% tax would happen, but depending on which operator you're on, depending on which plan you are on, depending on which plan you move to, the impact will be different. But it's definitely this 5% combination of the NHIL and the GET fund that would be passed on.
He explains the operators have accommodated many of the taxes and levies imposed on them by government over the years and are unable to no longer bear.
Yes, so if you look at taxes that have happened in the past, the business, because of wanting to be competitive, and wanting an uptake of it, have absorbed some of these taxes that have happened, but then you get to a particular point where your margins are so depressed that you've cut the fat.
Are you serious? Telecommunication companies, their margins compressing?
It's constantly happening. You should bear in mind that this is an industry where most of your costs are forex based. All the capex virtually are forex based, and so as the CD depreciates, your costs go up. You have challenges with a lot of multiple. If you take the MMDAs, even wanting to put a cell site, there are various charges that are coming up. If you look at how much it is that in Ghana we pay for licenses compared to what happens in other jurisdictions. Tanzania, 4G license 4G at what, 20 million? In the past when MTN bought it, it was around 67 point something million dollars. So the cost component in doing business in our environment is quite high, and we try to use technologies to be able to reduce the cost. But there's so much that you can do, and it gets to a point where you realize that where your margins are going, and you should bear in mind currently the industry pays about 40% of almost close to 40% of turnover to government as taxes, levies, fees, and all of that. So how much is it that a business can take? Because after you've paid 40%, you need to have money to be able to invest in, into new technologies. You need to make sure that you are expanding. You need to also have money to be able to pay your staff that work within the environment. You also need to definitely have an incentive for your shareholders to want to invest.
Now, subscribers, though, are unhappy about the impending increase in tariffs. We've been speaking with some of them.
And I think that bringing all the cost onto the consumer is a bit worrying. So if the telcos can subsidize a bit to make the cost a bit efficient for the consumers, is going to be better. But making us pay all of them is a bit worrying to us.
Yeah, it's really going to be a burden because let's say if I use, let's say, two let's say, airtime for about, let's say, 20 minutes, and let's say to like decrease to, I think, 50 minutes, like there's no, because, it's a money waste, because even already the one we are using already, like, we are even like, crying for it. How come they are going to increase? So with this, I'll just pray the government to just even do something about this.
Well, Ni Naku Doona is editor at Dome FM. He's also our in-house telecoms analyst, and he joins me in the studio this evening. Hello, Ni. All right, so we've been listening to the justifications given out or put out by the Chamber of Telecoms. I'd want you, as an analyst, to tell us how fair are these justifications?
I mean, as a consumer, when I heard it, I was like, ouch. But then, as somebody who watches the industry closely, I mean, it was to be expected for me. It was to be expected because you watch these telecom players over the years. This tax comes, they shoulder it for consumers. CST, they shoulder it for consumers. MNP, they shoulder it for consumers. Recently, some years back, they put this national fiscal stabilization levy on them. They shouldered it for consumers. And when you look at all these regulatory bodies, NCA, the district assemblies, EPA, and all kinds of fees and charges are coming on them. They keep shouldering it for consumers. So at some point, it gets to a point where you realize that, they just have to pass it on, because the tax that is coming is clear that it's supposed to be for consumers, but they've been shooting such taxes for consumers for a while. So it's just a matter of time that this is supposed to happen.
Explain to us, is it a new tax? My understanding is that it is not a new tax. It's a VAT. It's just that they've changed the computation of the VAT, and that's why we're having.
Yeah, because you know, the government is separating the health insurance levy, okay, and another one that they're separating. So it looks like there's going to be an increase of what the telcos are going to be paying. I mean, in terms of the taxes. So it's increasing the burden on them now.
All right. Now, how much are we to expect by way of increase?
Easy. I've looked at the GSMA, what do you call it? The GSMA index, their connectivity index, and there's an affordability part of it, which shows that Ghana sits about 4th in terms of the lowest, tariffs, across sub-Saharan Africa. Tunisia, the Gambia, and Benin are about the lowest. But
right, so
Ghana
those
is
are the stats we have.
Exactly, yeah. So
it
tells you that, apart from the fact that, aside of the fact that inflation keeps going high, and even if you look at all other utility bills, water, electricity, it keeps going high. When was the last time we heard that telecom tariffs are going high? No, and they keep giving all kinds of promotional bundles too, that also even brings the prices lower. So it was to be, for me, it's to be expected. Right. I'm not expecting so much increase, but then it's about time that we see.
How much would you estimate that we should expect?
Between maybe like a peso and two, for me.
On a minute?
On a minute, yes. 1 peso or 2 on a minute. But mind you, because of the promotions and the bundles they give, it is still going to be more or less like, these are going to be default rates. But then once you are going for a particular bundle or something, you will still be getting value for money. This is how we'll be living. You remember the former Minister of Communications, I don't know, this said that at some point we are going to be getting free calls and free SMS. It is happening, easy. Because if you look at the bundles you are giving, you realize that your bundle you are giving, you're actually paying for the data. The rest of the things that you are getting in that bundle is virtually free if you calculate things very well.
One other question I'd like to put to you is, if you look at the Chamber of Telecoms, they've made it clear that they're representing Airtel, Tigo, MTN, and Vodafone. They leave out Glo.
Yeah,
Does it mean that Glo wouldn't be increasing?
Glo has never been a member of the Chamber, so decisions of the Chamber has not
been bound
Glo.
on them.
Yeah, been bound on them. So we are still trying to reach out to Glo to find out whether they are going to be going with this, or they are going to take advantage of this, then offer probably the lowest price on the market, and then we'll see where we go from there.
Right. Nina Kudowona is with Adom FM, but he's our in-house telecoms analyst. Meanwhile, chairman of the Communications Committee in Parliament, Kennedy Japekrom, has described the move by the telcos as surprising. He also disagrees with the telcos about their transfer of the tax to subscribers. Speaking on the Pulse earlier on in the day, Mr. Japekrom said the committee will invite the telcos to explain their move once they resume.
I think they've not been treated the committee because you just met us and you told us everything that you were doing in the various industries or companies. So especially with Chamber of Telecom, I saw something on my phone this morning, the platform. I was taken aback. Why is it that this gentleman came to talk to us and he did not even mention to us that they were going to increase tariffs by 5%? So the committee, when you check our platform, see that they are all wondering why it came to us and they never said anything about tariffs. So as I speak to you, I will not be able to talk on how much or the percentage that we're going to charge. I just heard from you that 5%. I also admit that the new year, the budget says something about it. But as to the percentage, the committee, we are not even aware how much they were going to charge. I think that is coming from telcos themselves or the Chamber of Telecoms. Right. We will call them again. Once it has come to public notice, we're going to call them again to explain to us what involved or why they are increasing it by 5%.
Okay. Are you suggesting that perhaps the increase in tax may or may not result in 5%?
You know, the problem I have with that is that if I'm getting food stuff, I also don't care whether it's coming from government or not. I'm a consumer and I'm paying for stuff. And if I'm getting horrible stuff and you come back to tell me you are increasing it again by 5%, I'm not talking for myself alone. Everybody will be upset. This is the problem we are confronted with as a committee now. So we're going back to Parliament next week or so, and we'll immediately call a meeting. Because if I'm paying 5% increment on whatever increase, I should be getting quality stuff. My brother, I'm only praying. I don't know how long we're going to stay on this phone. Therefore, we just drop. Sometimes talking to a friend, hello, and that's it. You have to cut the phone and start again. And we've been complaining. So I'm surprised now they're coming up with the 5%.
Right.
They have to absorb it themselves until they give us a better, service.
Now, the Food and Drugs Authority has cautioned women against the use of breast-enhancing creams and injectables. This comes after Love News' report of widespread use of such products by senior high school students, as well as elderly women with slim shapes or figures. Now, a joint exercise with police led to the arrest following a Joy News report on the widespread use of such creams by the young females. Love Firms and Naya Juma reports a suspect is assisting the police to trace importers and distributors of the products. Now, Nora Naki Telabi heads the FDA in the Ashanti region.
I love women with big breasts. They are very attractive. I prefer very big breasts, those that shake when the body moves.
The small ones, nice ones. They don't like the big ones. We like the small ones.
Sellers beckon at targeted persons and secretly introduce the product to them. Many cosmetic sellers my sources had directed me to denied keeping stock of them, probably out of suspicion because I'm a man. Eventually, one of them led me to another, who had me wait for somebody to escort me to yet a third person. To my utter surprise, I found myself in a boutique run by a man. He beckons me to get closer inside the shop, where he pulls up a handbag. Out of it came a product with the brand name Pretty Curry Breast Lifting Fast Cream, with picture of a white woman displaying her breast embossed on it. It sells at 35 cedis per unit, which I purchased. The gentleman brought out other products, including pills. He claims work on butts and breast to make them heavier. As he continued, I expressed interest in joining the business. He pledged to assist me find my way into a business he says is very lucrative. The Food and Drugs Authority says it has neither approved nor is aware of any product on the market. Ashanti Region Head Nora Nakite Labi says the authority will follow up on the leads to rid the market of them.
I would like to say that no, these products have not been registered by the Food and Drugs Authority. Currently, we don't have any products on our register that says that it can enlarge your breast or your backside or that's your butt or any other organ of your body. No, we have not registered any product like that. We don't know of these products. You brought us this. We are going to investigate and find out who is distributing this and make sure that the law deals with the person.
People who admit using the product will not grant an interview, although they claim to have seen some results. Founder of Breast Care International, Dr. Beatrice Yafe Ade, reveals the negative effects of using such products.
We don't like what we have, and we don't appreciate what we have. That is the reason why a woman will go the extra mile to go and look for something only to please the man. Now, a lot of our women work in the sun. So we sweat a lot at the place where the breasts are. So if a woman is sweating and applies this, the chances are that the pores in the skin are open, and so chemicals will easily enter through the pores.
Whether or not the FDA is able to flush these products out of the market will surely depend on the extent at which dealers and users protect their interest. Experts are predicting a surge in cases of breast cancer recorded annually. If this worrying trend is not halted, probably their predictions may come to pass. Reporting for Joy News, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
Well, it turns out the products are also sold quite freely here on the market in Accra. Joy News' Latif Idris was at the Kwame Nkrumah Circle a while ago to interact with some of the traders dealing in the products. It's essentially what we had done in Kumasi, except that in the case of Accra, it almost didn't end well.
Anyway, in Accra, to say some cream, but I don't know some movie. A man cream or what say a woman for it enhances the breast. A bit means the color and I cocoa come. I don't know say. I wouldn't a man cream ya head a fat home and I fine. At what end move but what in I and yet for Lufo and I is totally different from parts, right? Yeah, I'm talking about the breast. I just want one, but I want to know the brands. Like how many brands do you have? Sister, I'm saying that I want. What I'm saying is, I want one. One. Yes. But I want to know the brands that you have. Branches, not branches. Brand like types now. Different. There were tablets. Okay, so we've not even talked about the price. I don't. How much is this one?
This one 56.
50.
Hey. 50 cedis. No, be 15 cedis. So
50 is too expensive.
This one is very good.
I want to check the expiry date. So between the two, which one would you choose?
Buy this one.
This one?
Yes.
Why this one?
Buy this one.
Why? Why do you want?
This one is very good.
So how much is this one?
This one is 46.
So this one is much more expensive?
Yes.
No, but this one, 50 cedis is too much. Can you?
45.
Will you take? I want to give you 20.
20 cedis. Then this one is 20 cedis. We are in Abidjan 20 cedis.
All right, so eventually it turns out that they spotted that he had, Latif Idris had a camera man with him, and so they chased them out of the market. Let's now speak with Dr. Florence Dede, who is head of the breast unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Thank you very much, Dr. Dede. Now, we have heard all these breast enhancement products being sold on the market, and people apparently use them. Do you know if there are any side effects?
Well, so thank you for inviting me to talk about this then. I am not very familiar with it, but I've done some reading on it, and I think what happens is most people, or most of these products are made of a mixture of herbs, and so it's sold with the notion that it's safe, it's all natural, and so it's safe. But there are side effects to everything, and even for herbs, a mixture of herbs, you can have side effects. So some of the side effects I came across reading about it are disturbances with the gastrointestinal tract, like vomiting, like diarrhea, like gas, bloating, abdominal pain. But more importantly, it can also react with certain medications that you may be on. So for people who are on blood thinners, for people who are on contraceptives, it could actually interact. And then the other worrying thing is a lot of these drugs contain what we call phytoestrogens. So these are like estrogens, which women have hormones, women's hormones, but are plant-based. And the worrying thing is that we know definitely that breast cancer is linked to estrogens. What hasn't been proven is whether phytoestrogens are linked to breast cancer or not. So there is also that possibility, although there's no overwhelming evidence to prove that it is linked to it. So especially for people who may be at high risk of having breast cancer, I think it is a bit dangerous to go using some of these products.
Now, I'm trying to understand how these chemicals actually help to make the breast bigger or the butt bigger.
All right. So once again, the evidence really does not prove, there's no overwhelming evidence to show that these things work. So really, I think there are two things. One is effectiveness and two is safety. And on both counts, I don't think there's any strong evidence to show that it's a good thing to use. It really does. Anything that sounds too good to be true is usually not true, and I think that's where this falls. There's no evidence to show that it actually does enhance or enlarge the breast. And then it may also come with a safety issue. So I would say it's better avoided.
Right, so clearly something you wouldn't recommend for yourself.
Definitely not.
All right.
And I wouldn't recommend for anybody either.
All
I think we should be happy with what we have. If genuinely or for some real reason you need some breast enlargement, I think there are proven ways that work. You can see the plastic surgeons. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a surgeon, but you can see the plastic surgeons. The plastic surgeons can do something that is effective, and that will work.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Florence Dede, head of the breast unit of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And she ended by saying that you should be happy with what you have. And that's very good advice. Lawyers for former NCA board chairman Eugene Bafo-Bonny have accused the former director of finance at the National Communications Authority, Dr. Isaac Ani, of being untruthful to an Accra High Court. Dr. Ani is the state's second witness in the case in which former top officials of the NCA have been charged with causing financial loss to the state in the award of a $4 million contract to private firm Infralux Development Limited. Dr. Ani on Tuesday rejected the allegation he was peddling untruth in the court. There's more in the following report.
Dr. Eni had told the court he owned a company, Makush Consultancy Services, that is into the provision of teaching services. This was during a cross-examination by a lawyer for Mr. Bafo-Bonny, Thaddeus Sorry. He had also said he did not know any official of Infralux Development Limited, and at no point did he deal with the company. He also maintained he only heard about the request for institutional support from the National Security in February 2016. During cross-examination on Thursday, lawyer Sorry confronted Dr. Eni with documents showing his company's registration details. The former finance director admitted the main object captured in the document is risk management consultancy. He was also confronted with a letter written by his company, Infralux Development Limited, a company he had claimed he had never engaged. Lawyer Sorry suggested to the witness that he was being untruthful to the court. Dr. Eni disagreed with this suggestion. Mr. Sorry asked for an adjournment to enable him peruse some documents the Director of Public Prosecution had just handed him. He will continue with the cross-examination on October 23.
The Savannah Agricultural Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, based in Manga in the Binduri district of the Upper East region, has developed 2 varieties of cowpea capable of surviving under low rainfall. The research institution has gone on to introduce the cowpea to over 200 farmers in the Boku West and Binduri district who farm along the White Volta Basin and recently lost their farms to floods from the Bagre Dam spillage. Here's a report by Upper East correspondent Albert Sorry.
The 2 improved varieties of cowpea, known as Wankai and Kekhouse Benga, have been designed to survive in soils that retain moisture for long periods of time. This way, Even if there are little or no rains, farmers who plant these varieties are able to get some yields. The initiative by the Savannah Agriculture Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research is geared towards improving food security after the recent spillage of the Bagre Dam in Burkina Faso destroyed many farms in several districts of the Upper East region. Dr. Francis Kusi is a senior research scientist at the Savannah Agriculture Research Institute.
Usually when there's flood, there's a lot of residual moisture at the banks of the river, which the farmers can use for profitable cowpea production without having to go into any irrigation system or applying water to it. They will plant a cowpea. Because the cowpea is a deep-rooted crop, it will tap deep in the reserve moisture in there for good production. But then the problem with most of our farmers is that they usually will use unimproved cowpea varieties. But as a research institution, we have a lot of cowpea varieties that are doing very well. And two of these important varieties are what we call Wankai and Kekhouse Benga. We brought them to introduce these important varieties to them, and they saw it for themselves. In terms of pot load, the seeds per pot, number of pots per peduncle, and the duration.
Some of the farmers selected to try the cowpea were confident that the improved seeds will go a long way to restore their hopes after the losses they suffered following the recent floods.
I farm maize, rice, and granules, and the flood have destroyed all of them. So I'm ready to farm some beans. I will more repeat my land again.
Actually, when the flood came, it actually affected us. My land was about 4 acres. I lose all my crops that I planted there. Now the water is still lying on my farm.
With the spilling of the Bagre Dam, actually affected myself and my outgoers. Now with this demo, we've come to see in Sari through the help of Dr. Francis Kusi. It will be of a great relief to us because with the two varieties that we have seen today, you know, after the aftermath of the floods, what can we do next? The lands are lying there.
Boko West District Director of Agriculture, Elias Atimbire, said the new varieties of cowpea introduced to the farmers will help improve food security and bring some income to the farmers.
At the district level, we are going to support them. Those who will be going to dry season irrigation, we will support them with fertilizer coupons that are available. And we have this organic fertilizer that is now available that we are promoting, that they will use it at the riverside.
Reporting for Joy News, Albert Sori, Manga, Binduri District.
After years of agitations, legal battles and admissions of no resources, the Electoral Commission has resolved to finally set up a committee to draw a detailed roadmap to implement the law that will allow Ghanaians living abroad to vote. The decision was taken at an inter-party advisory committee meeting at the Electoral Commission headquarters. Deputy Communications Director of the EC, Yusuf Al-Hassan Ayuba, says political parties and civil society have until Monday to submit representatives for the committee. He's been speaking with Chrissy Parker-Wilson.
The Commission informed political parties that ROPA will be one of the issues that the Commission would be looking into. But then it should be by consensus. So a committee is going to be set out and the political parties will be represented. Civil society organizations would also be represented so that from now onwards, the committee would then look into all the proposals that have come up. Then a recommendation would be made. You know this issue came up in court. Yeah. The court has directed the commission, to bring up a roadmap. So it's part of the reason why a committee would be set. We've given the political parties up to Monday and the other civil society organizations up to Monday to furnish the commission with members who are going to be on the committee, so that the committee would then be inaugurated and then work would begin.
I see. So how many member committees are you looking at?
The commission will be represented by 3 persons.
Okay.
The active political parties with representation in Parliament would come with 1 representative each.
So that would be the NPP and the NDC, just that the 2?
No. Then the other parties would be represented by one person. Then the civil society would also be represented. Then the committee would be formed. Then they will go into looking into the modalities of the whole implementation of the ROPA.
Now, did they all agree that this should be the roadmap as far as the implementation of ROPA is concerned?
Yes, it's a step in getting to see whether the proposal will be realized, whether in the very near future or in future. So the committee is just yet to work. So we'll wait for the committee to get into motion. Then any decision that the committee comes up with, the commission would then look at those decisions and see whether those decisions are workable within the very shortest possible time or in the near future.
Meanwhile, the General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Yesedun Ketia, is asking the Commission to pilot the process by using the District Assembly elections.
The court said that the Electoral Commission should come out with the roadmap and modalities for the implementation of the ROPA. It didn't give any deadline that it should be 2020, 2024, or 2050. And you remember the Commission gave reasons why it could not implement ROPA at the time it was passed, the law was passed. So I want to believe that the committee that is going to be established will go around to go and study whether those conditions were still valid. If they are still as valid today as they were in the past, then of course it cannot be implemented. But if something has changed, then we all look at what has changed and see whether ROPA can be implemented without difficulties to our electoral process. So
but aren't you worried because 2006,
why should I be worried? We cited the reasons why this cannot be implemented. So the committee is now going to look at those reasons and see whether they have changed or they are still valid, and then come with a conclusion. Why should anybody be worried? Nobody. We have never said we are against foreigners, Ghanaians living outside voting. Yeah. We're saying that the process leading to that voting is open to abuse. And then we gave reasons why, and those reasons were upheld by the Electoral Commission. So the issue now is to go and look at the reasons again. If they are still valid, then I think the conclusion will still be valid. If they have something has changed to improve the situation, then you can begin talking about implementation of ROPA. At this stage yet, no such decision has been taken. I was even suggesting that they should, somewhere saying we should try and get a pilot. I said, okay, the pilot is nice. Let's use the District Assembly elections as a pilot for ROPA, and let's see whether it can be implemented.
Well, several children were rescued from a building by local artisans at Abinchi Market in the Ashanti Regional Capital, Kumasi, after a fire gutted the building Thursday afternoon. The building houses a church and a daycare center. A report says the children had to be rescued through a window as the fire was quite intense. Erastus Asare Donko joins me via telephone with more on this. Erastus, what more can you tell us about this fire?
Well, so it started around 3 p.m. this afternoon. When we got there, the whole building was in flames, and the inner temple was totally gutted. There's a daycare center within the premises, so some children were in there, and the local artisans created a hole through one of the windows, and one by one they rescued the children. Now, things turned rather strangely when the media men, we tried to enter the destruction site to try to get a better view of how things were. When we entered the inner perimeter, where the fire was greatest, in fact, our members were prevented from taking shots by the pastor. In fact, it was a fierce struggle. They came out, all out, attacking us, asking us why we should be taking pictures of the ravaged building, and they do not want any camera within the premises. But we felt that, no, this is a public site where fire has ravaged the building, and in fact, we have every right to shoot together with the fire service who were working. But then they had a different view. And before we could say, Jack, in fact, the camera of the GTV camera technician, Victor Van der Poel, was totally destroyed by the pastor and his associates. And my phone was also smashed when they demanded. In fact, about 6 people clamored around me and asked me to delete the pictures I have taken. And that if I don't delete, they are going to beat me up. They will not let me leave the building. When I resisted, they took my phone and smashed it. So we had to file a complaint at the Asukwa police station where they were picked up. Our statements have been taken. As we were leaving, they were still there writing their statement. And so that is what happened this afternoon.
Now, how about the children who were there? Were there any casualties, any fatalities at all?
No, the local artisans did well. In fact, even before the fire service personnel could come in, they had gone inside the building and taken the children, paved the way through one of the windows, and put them through one by one. And so they were all rescued, and there was no casualty.
Now, regarding this incident involving the pastor of the church there, we're learning that there's been, well, they're discounting or they disagree with the reports that, or they're contesting the reports that they attacked the media. They're saying that they were rather attacked. Right, we have lost Erastus Sasario Donko. They was giving us that update on the fire near Abinchi Market in Kumasi. We'll try and re-establish contact with him because we're learning that the pastor and the church, the congregation of the church involved, they deny reports that they attacked the media men. They're saying that rather they were attacked by the bystanders there. We'll try and establish contact with him, and hopefully we can also get to speak with somebody from the church. So, well, Erastus is back on the line. So, Erastus, I was asking earlier, the church is contesting the reports that they attacked the media. They are saying that they were rather attacked, that one of the head pastor, Pastor Obed, was actually attacked by bystanders.
Well, that would be the most strangest reaction I've ever heard in my life, because then I was at the scene and they attacked the GTV cameraman and they demanded that he deleted the pictures he has taken of the burning building, and he said he won't. And several of the associates, some of them even drew knives at the scene, came up on him, struggled with him, and dismembered his camera right in front of us. Myself, when I tried to take pictures of some cages, in fact, there were some strange objects within the building. They had cages, cages that contained some wildlife. One of the cages contained eagles, wild eagles, 2 of them, a male and a female, I guess. One was black, the other one was brown. There were cages containing monkeys. Within the temple, there were other birds that were bent. Several birds, lining about 8 of them, where we were trying to ask them what those birds were used for. In fact, we were curious because then it was strange. When I took pictures of these, they asked me to delete them. And I said no. They wrestled the camera for me, and they told me that if I don't delete them, I won't leave the building. They will beat me up. So it would be strange for the pastor to say that they didn't do that. And why would the media attack them anyway? Because we were there to film a burning building.
All right.
And we're discharging our duties. We had no ill motive. Why would we attack a pastor and his associates?
All right. So they actually didn't say that it was the media that attacked them. They were saying that these were bystanders. But I mean, it sounds like a pretty strange story. I mean, for these pastors and the associates to actually draw knives on the media, that's quite serious. So we are in the stand that the police, as you indicated, the police have taken up the matter.
Exactly. We wrote our statements. We filed a formal complaint with the Asukwa police. They took our statements. As we were leaving, they were also writing their statement. So that is where it is at the moment. Tomorrow we'll go back and then investigations will continue.
All right, thank you very much. Erastus Asaredonko bringing us up to speed with that fire there in Kumasi. Now, there has been a lot of talk about the need for Ghana to harness its solar energy potential, and now a group of young children are tapping into it. These children have created an innovative solar oven made with a pizza box, and most importantly, it is environmentally friendly. Selina Mampo caught up with the young geniuses. Here's her report.
The 5 young geniuses between the ages of 8 and 13 said they came up with the idea in just a month when their school, Ebibifahudie Adisuabia, tasked them to create something original. So they created a solar oven. The materials needed to create the solar oven are simple: a paper box, carbon paper, a metallic foil, and a plastic for wrapping food.
The solar oven that we were making for the Solar Fair event was basically we used a pizza box and turned it into a pizza oven by using just a pizza box, and we wanted to do it because we thought that using coal and electricity and oil to power things isn't very environmental and it's not good for the earth.
The oven is portable, simple, cheap, and an efficient too.
The foil is so that when the sun goes onto the foil, it will reflect off and go into the pizza box. And the plastic wrap is so that when it goes into the pizza box, it'll insulate the heat in, and the black construction paper is to absorb the sun's heat.
With Ghana's high weather temperatures, this makeshift cooker can cook or preheat anything.
You can use it for baking and cooking and basically for like reheating things. Well, you can reheat like leftover food like spaghetti, noodles, and you can bake things in it, probably muffins or biscuits.
Although the solar oven may seem great, there is a downside. On a rainy day, one cannot use the oven. However, the pupils of the Ebibifahudie Adisuabia already have plans to reconstruct the oven with sturdier materials.
In the future, we would like to improve the solar oven because it has a slight problem with insulation. So we would like to use more durable materials, although we like to use recycled materials. Materials like wood, hardwood, maybe glass. And we would also like to have a battery for it so that on overcast or rainy days, we can still heat your food up in the oven.
Selina Ampo's report for Joy News.